The WISEArchive was set up in 2005, and we're a group of volunteers that are very passionately interested in preserving the oral history of people's working lives. We've got about 24 volunteers, and the volunteers are people who do the interviews, transcriptions and editing and sound clips. The Colman's project was something which was completed in summer 2016, and it was made possible through Heritage Lottery funding. And one of the key things about the Heritage Lottery funding was that we were able to upgrade our equipment. So the recording equipment we have now is technically much more superior. We've also been able to add sound clips to the website that we have online. And the project involved interviewing, I think, around about 20 odd people who've worked at Colman's. It covers the period from 1935 up to the sort of mid-80s, and we've got really people who've worked their entire lives at Colman's. Albert, one of the interviewees, was a banjo player, and one of the things that Colman's actually was quite good at was organising social activities.
When I left the army and went back to Colman's again, that was then, they were then getting everything, you know. They had all the medical things and that there, which they'd had right from the start, but that was all improved, you know. I knew they were going to build a big machine. I went right down to the thing, you know, that made the carton. Took it along, filled it, sealed it, and then out of the back, and the girl packed them in. That was a big machine, a Rose machine that was called, and after that they bought several of them, and that was, when they got the new department, they all went in the new baby food department. I knew they were going to buy these before that. I asked Mr. Lenton, I said, will you consider me for that job?
It was very, I think, usual for families to follow each other, and we've got examples. Valerie, who's one of the interviewees, whose mother, whose brother, whose sister, whose uncles worked at Colman's. She started at the age of 14.
The done thing when I was a young girl was you put your name down at personnel for about a year beforehand to say you wanted to work there, and then when it got nearer the time and you left school, you would go for an interview. That was my first experience of belonging to a union and having to go out on strike whether I liked it or not, because I was actually in the union. You couldn't stay in if you were in the union. You had to go out with the others and support them.
The fact that a lot of the production was undertaken by women, and again in setting it into a sort of a social context, it was much less likely then for women to rise into management positions. Although, having said that, Colman's did have one female manager, I think in the early 1900s, and they were one of the first companies to do that. But there was very much a divide between the men and the female workers, and the pay rates were different, which of course theoretically wouldn't be possible these days anyway. The book is available at Gerald's, and it's also available through the WISEArchive. The WISEArchive has an online website which has details of the projects. All of the interviews, the transcriptions of the interviews are available to read online, plus some of the sound clips.